Alright, hi everyone. I've now moved inside to a Starbucks, so I'm going to speak as loudly as I can, also being respectful of the other customers that are here and of the space. So I am feeling your anxiety as you see like the lists of things that are on Monday. And thank you, those of you who have emailed me, messaged me on that chat icon to let me know how you're feeling. So thank you. Here's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. With a condensed course that has now been put online, I have like 6 hours-ish of material to cover today, right? We would have gone 9 to noonish, and then we would have gone like 12:45 to 3-ish. And so the e-class I'm trying to use as a way to connect you to each other, to replace the discussions that we would have had face-to-face. The PowerPoints and the videos are kind of doubled, right? So you can either choose one or the other, or watch the video and then go back to the PowerPoints as a reference later on if you need to. The journals are not marked. They're for your own professional practice. So jotting things down while you're listening to the video, while you're reading through the material, excuse me, will all help you for the midterm on Monday. And will all help you just in your practice in general. It's great to reflect after teaching. It's great to reflect after learning. So here we go, the power to move. So now we're looking at the foundations of a PE program. And this is like the meat and potatoes. This is how to build your PE program. Oh, I did do something right again. Haha. Okay. So the plan for this particular video, this PowerPoint, so we're going to look at the joy of physical education again, the domains in physical education and physical literacy, learning to move, so this is Laban's movement principles and fundamental movement skills, growth and development, motor learning, and developmental levels. Oh, now they've put on the music. Sorry, I'll have to come a bit closer. So this is the heaviest chunk. This is in a class that I would teach in university, 2 or 3 weeks worth of material that I'm trying to squish in for you quickly. Here we go. Let's do this. So in terms of my filter, my meaningful PE filter, when I'm thinking about teaching you, especially this way online, to get a little bit of fun into it, I've provided some energizers and some breaks. Socially relevant or social interactions, that's our chats, our messaging, our emails. These videos are the way I'm trying to build those connections digitally and online. And then personally relevant learning. This is why we teach PE, and this is the theory behind all of our decision making. So this is the foundations, and if you know this stuff, and you understand this stuff, and you value this stuff, then you take it and you start to apply it in your planning. So this is like big picture, and then we'll slowly work our way into our classrooms. So when movement is experienced as joy, it adorns our lives, makes our days go better, and gives us something to look forward to. When movement is joyful and meaningful, it may even inspire us to do things we never thought possible. So joy is one of the meaningful physical education features. Joy is kind of a combination of fun and delight. And so what you want to think of when you're big picture planning is, how is this going to make my day go better? How is this going to make my students' day go better? Am I creating lessons and activities that they look forward to? So the previous video we mentioned physical literacy as the motivation, confidence, and competence, knowledge and understanding to value and take responsibility for engagement in physical activities for life. So that's just a quick review. It is something you should be quite familiar with for your midterm. We're going to go through some diagrams to help you better understand it. Domains in physical education. So according to this theory, there are 3 domains in physical education. So the physical, that's the body. The affective, that's like the heart and the spirit. And then the cognitive, which is like the brain thinking. So this is a physical domain where you're learning your locomotor skills, your non-locomotor skills, your stability skills. So basically your fundamental movement skills is what we focus on in elementary, specifically lower elementary, and then moving into upper elementary, what you want to think about is taking those fundamental movement skills and starting to put them together in patterns to be able to then apply strategies or tactics or ideas to take those fundamental movement skills, and I'm just going to call them FMS. Take the FMSs and use them in like game-like situations or real-life situations or activities outside of school. So you want to create an environment where students are learning these fundamental movement skills, and then they scaffold them, and they take them and they adapt their movements as they grow. The very definition of play is actually where students take their movements, or they take the game or the activity that they're doing, and they adapt it and modify it to meet their needs at that time. That's the definition of play. So when you think about it, when phys ed teachers, we say we get to play all day. Absolutely, we get to play all day, but it's a cognitive play, it's an affective play, and a physical play. And it's also how good teaching works. You adapt, you modify, you change things up so that kids are scaffolded to get better and better and better at things. But kids will also naturally do this if we get out of their way. So you need to also think about free time. Hello! Free time in your scheduling and planning. Cognitive domain. Play is also one of the richest ways for kids to learn. So this is them beginning to put together their knowledge, understanding, and thought processes when they're feeling safe and when they are feeling comfortable. Their brains will connect with what their bodies are doing. So most of us, in some way, shape, or form, are a little bit kinesthetic in that if the body does it, the brain will remember it. And the affective domain. This is the heart, this is the spirit of the child, and we're looking at the whole child. So we need to take into account things like moods, attitudes, self-concept, motivation, social awareness. So you want to, this is where you build those relationships with your students. They build relationships together. We're looking at sportspersonship, fair play, respect for others, self-control, self-regulation, social emotional learning, and especially respect and responsibility. So on the table, I'm pointing like you can see, it's so hard not being with you. On the table, you can see the 3 domains of physical education. So it lists for you, and this table comes out of your textbook. So for those of you who don't have access to your textbook, I've tried to include as much as I can legally from your textbook into the PowerPoints. So cognitive domain is thinking, and it's got a list of those things. So this is the brain, the head. Physical domain, that's your moving, so your fundamental movement skills, putting them together in combination in things like cooperative activities and the 5 domains of phys ed. Dance, games, educational gymnastics, alternative environments, and individual activities. Then we have the affective domain, the feeling, the spirit. This is the heart, and the spirit part is the affective domain. So again, looking at all those emotional pieces, the social pieces of your classroom and your learning environment. Do you feel that these 3 domains here on this table reflect the whole child? Is there anything missing? And if you think there's something missing, please add it to our e-class chat room. So if we were face-to-face right now, we would stop and have a discussion about these Western domains that were developed and theorized from a Western perspective. And when we think about teaching and we think about the cultural context that we'll be teaching in, it's really important to look at the theory, the foundation, and question it a little bit to make sure that it does still apply to our children that we are teaching. So just have a think about that and fill it in on eClass if that works for you. So if you need to pause this video and go do that, you can come back. Alright, so welcome back. Learning to move. So these are Laban's principles or Laban's movement concepts. There's 4 of them in a quadrant. Body, space, effort, relationship, awareness. So we'll dive into that first, and then we'll look at the fundamental movement skills. So basically through movement, students are able to develop and appreciate and learn to love how their body works in space, weight, relation to others. And ultimately, these are our what, where, how, and with whom or what did you move. So these movement concepts frame a little bit our planning. So there they are in the quadrant: body, space, effort, awareness. Now, before I click the slide, and if you haven't done any reading of the textbook, if you were to draw this little square in your journal right now, around it, maybe just jot down a few ideas of what you think this might mean. Because we learn from reading, but we also learn from our mistakes. So if you haven't done the reading and you just want to take a stab at this and just take a guess, go for it. So take a second and, and fill in those 4 quadrants with what you think might be in each of them. So body awareness. This is what the body can do. Body actions, so things like this, or like all those body actions, body parts, head, eyes, mouth, face. What can your face do to bring expression to something? Your body parts, your shoulders, your arms, all of those things. What can they do? The activities: running, skipping, hopping, jumping, rolling, leaping, different shapes. So like YMCA. Again, I look like a fool sitting in a coffee shop, but I needed the Wi-Fi to be able to do this for you. Singing to myself, but just wait, it gets better when I sing later. So what shapes can your bodies make? When you think about language and literacy, like making the letters of a word with your body, taking that language and connecting it to movement, because what the body knows, the brain remembers. What the body does, the brain remembers. Symmetrical and asymmetrical. So when I'm symmetrical, both sides of my body are doing the same thing. When I'm asymmetrical, 2 sides of my body, if I split it down the line, doing different things. Spatial awareness. Right now I'm very spatially aware. So this is where it can move. Area, directions, levels, pathways, extensions, planes. So like this next slide here, you can see you can run forwards on a diagonal, in a square, in a triangle, zigzag. Maybe you're running like in a wavy, curvy pattern. Maybe you're moving your body circular. Maybe you're twisting. So that is your spatial awareness. Thinking about high, medium, low, extending, adding implements. When you add an implement, your body space, your bubble, becomes much bigger. Effort. So if you want for effort, maybe you can also, especially with lower elementary, think of things like energy. So how much energy did it take to do the movement? So it was like super sudden and fast, and you're sprinting. That probably takes a lot more energy or effort than like a slow motion walking down the hall, dragging my feet. Okay, so you're looking at like time, sudden, fast, acceleration, sustained, slow, slowing down, the weight of it. So is it strong, firm, like light? Not that I'm stabbing any. Oh my goodness, I hate this video stuff. Okay, in the space, is it like straight, direct, crossing? Does it matter which way they're going? Backwards, forwards, and then flow. Thinking about, is this freeing? Is it ongoing, or is there like a boundary and I have to stop here, start there, change things at this point, that kind of thing. So that's all effort and thinking about the energy it requires. Relationships. So this is a sense of with whom and with what the body can do. So body parts together, like clapping, or bouncing, like if my foot bounces on my knee in a tree post. Am I moving by myself? Am I moving in groups? Are there any rules for using the implement or working with others on objects or apparatus, especially gymnastics or in the play park? Batting with a baseball bat or swinging a cricket bat, that kind of thing. So there's more. I didn't type the textbook page, but this is in the textbook as well. But again, if you don't have the textbook, this will help. Sorry, I didn't type the page. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do, we're going to pause on the 4 of Laban's movement principles. And this is what we would have done in class, but now we have to do it online. So you're going to think of a PE warm-up activity that you've used or seen before. And you can, if you have it online or if there's a YouTube video of it or whatever, share that link in your discussion. And I want you to describe or demonstrate, like if you want to video it, that'd be awesome. Then it's a little bit more socially interactive. Just a warm-up activity. So even if that warm-up activity is running laps, so let's pull apart running laps. How did running laps teach or demonstrate body awareness? How does it teach or demonstrate spatial awareness? How does running laps demonstrate effort awareness and or relationship awareness? So when you're talking about your warm-ups in your small groups, think what, where, how, and with whom or what did the students move during this activity. So pause here into your groups, go back and forth throughout the day, and look at a warm-up activity and how it might be teaching, demonstrating, reinforcing those four things: body awareness, spatial awareness, effort awareness, and relationship awareness. Thank you. Pause here. Alright, fundamental movement skills. Welcome back. So FMS, fundamental movement skills. 3 types: locomotor, non-locomotor, and manipulative. Locomotor means moving from point A to point B. Non-locomotor is staying in one spot. And then a manipulative skill is anytime you are moving things using different balls, objects, rackets, anything like that. So the locomotor skills, like I said, is point A to point B. Some of the fundamental movements in under locomotor skills: walking, running, leaping, jumping, galloping, skipping, hopping, stopping, dodging, creeping, crawling, crab walk, bear walk, seal walk, any other animal walks. So what I want you to think back to is that warm-up that you just discussed with your group mates. If it was only walking or running as a locomotor skill, could you change the warm-up slightly to incorporate other locomotor skills? So for example, if it was running laps, instead of just having them run laps, and let's say you really wanted to work on fundamental movement skills, maybe you would ask them to skip, step hop, step hop, step hop, step hop, skip as they are going around the gym. Then you maybe ask them to gallop. Maybe you ask them to crawl. Or better still, like let's say you're running, if it's running laps that you needed to do or want to do or whatever, maybe there's music playing with different animals. And when they hear a different animal, they make that animal movement, then they get back up and they're doing a locomotor movement. Non-locomotor movement. So this is your balance and stability. You're swinging, bending, stretching, twisting, turning, pushing, pulling, curling. So typically used in gymnastics, or really focused on and improved upon during a gymnastics unit, but also really important for playing in a play park, for life outside of school. So I love doing my gymnastics unit in a play park as opposed to in the gymnasium with mats. And if you don't have fancy equipment, then what's the point? Now, if you don't have a play park and you have a forest, you can still use trees. You can still use natural inclines using hills for all kinds of these things. And then manipulative skills. As I mentioned, this is anytime you are using an object. So propulsion, that's like throwing and striking. Receptive, that's your catching. So throwing and catching are super important manipulative skills, especially in lower elementary. And then retentive, what that means is like dribbling the soccer ball between your feet and hanging onto it, not losing control of the ball. Dribbling like a basketball and hanging onto it. Juggling. Juggling is another really, really neat retention skill under manipulative skills. So, brain break. I'm going to take you outside for this brain break. I'm so lucky. I have been working on my candidacy paper at this particular Starbucks for a few months now, so they're used to my crazy antics. Okay, so we're outside, and I'm going to share with you this little brain break song. and I'll do it as loud as I possibly can. So this is called Alive, Awake, Enthusiastic, and if you're familiar with the song, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If that's not a song that you're familiar with, welcome, you're about to learn it. But think about brain breaks that you do know and that you do with your own children or you did in your childhood that you can share with your students if you notice that they've been sitting for too long. So alive is touch your ankles, awake is touch your hips, and alert is touch your shoulders, and enthusiastic is hands up in the air. So I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. There's your brain break. So, if you want to rewind that and do it 2 or 3 times, get the oxygen flowing back to the brain as you're sitting here going, holy Hannah, this is a lot for a Monday online after what could potentially have been a very stressful week and weekend. So try to make it a little bit simpler. Okay. I'm actually going to stop this video here and post it, and then I'll keep going with the second one.